Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. So I've recently had two different requests for me to combine more of my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. I did have a few videos, they're probably 6 months plus ago on my channel, and I did get two different comments from two different people asking if I would combine more of my Natasha Denona palettes. So I thought, since it is summer, I know it's not technically the first day of summer, but June 1st, in my opinion, is summertime. I thought it'd be nice to combine the Natasha Denona Golden palette and the I Need a Warm palette. Now, this one's very reflective, so I'm not going to hold that one up too long. But these two are both really pretty warm tone neutral palettes. So first we have the Golden palette. And this one looks like this. We have some of these really pretty warm shades and these pretty golds and copper shades. A stunning, stunning eyeshadow palette. And then the second palette, the I Need a Warm, is another one that is just really beautiful. If you love these types of shades, these two palettes are perfect. And I think they are definitely perfect for this time of the year if you are inspired by the seasons. Now, I know these are neutral palettes, so of course they can be worn year-round. But if you are someone that when you think of summer, you think of the bronzy, gold kind of browns like I do, that's personally what I think of, then these two palettes are perfect. So I want to create two eye looks here with you using both of these palettes. I have off camera let a random number generator pick out 3 shades from each of these. Now this video is not really meant to be like a palette bingo of any sorts. The reason why I did that is because I know myself. If I'm allowed to pick my own shades, I'm probably going to pick only certain ones and avoid others, you know, because I do have a certain style if I do wear eyeshadow. So I let a random generator pick out my shades, so I can't cheat this time. So let me show you the shades it picked first from the Golden eyeshadow palette. I'm going to swatch them on the back of my hand. Okay, so from the Golden palette we have Kava, Flesh, and Aria. And in the palette those are actually this whole column right here. We have Kava, Flesh, and Aria. And from the I Need a Warm we have Flashover, Snug, and Fancy. Which that shade, there you go, you can see it. It is a shimmer shade. It picked out pretty shimmers for me. And those 3 shades in the palette are Flashover, Snug, and Fancy. I believe I did that right. Yes. So those are the 6 shades that I'm going to be working with these two palettes. So let me zoom you in and we'll get started. Okay, we're first going to start out with the Golden eyeshadow palette, and on a Sigma E54, I'm going to go into the shade Flesh. At the end of the video, by the way, I'm going to show you this shirt that I'm wearing, but I'll save it for the end just in case. For those who are just here for the eyeshadow, I just want you to be able to see the eyeshadow palette, so I'll save it for the very end. And I'm just going to apply this shade all over the lid. It doesn't have to be too precise because I'm pretty much going to cover this up with other shades, but I thought this would be a nice shade to start out with. Such a pretty tone. And if you're someone that maybe you were looking at her new tan eyeshadow palette, I'm sure you probably could create something very similar with this one or the I Need a Warm, or both of them mixed. I don't have the tan palette. It is a really pretty palette, but it's not one that I think I'm going to buy because I'm just not into eyeshadow right now. If you've been watching any of my recent videos, oh, and by the way, this is an EF1L from the Mario travel brush kit. I'm just going around the edges here. If you've been watching my recent videos, you will know that I'm not into eyeshadow like I used to be. I much prefer now to bring my bronzer and my blush on my lid and then go in on the rest, or like I should say like maybe about halfway, and then go in on the inner part with an eyeshadow stick. And a lot of times what I'll do is take a shimmer shade or a topper shade and place over it and use the eyeshadow stick as base, but going in with full palettes has just not really been a preference for me lately. I'm just someone that at this current time in my life, I much prefer to test out complexion products than I am like eyeshadow. Unless it's an eyeshadow stick, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the Ilia ones, I can't get enough of those. I love them. In fact, I wanted to use one of those as a base for this eye look, but I figured that people would want to see these two eyeshadow palettes by themselves with nothing else mixed in, like no bronzer, no eyeshadow stick, nothing else, just these two palettes. Okay, I'm just keeping that very, very simple. That's such a pretty tone. Okay, and using the same brush and the same golden palette, I'm going to go into the shade Aria. Aria is just like a touch deeper than Flesh, so I'm mostly going to take this on the outer half of my lid, just to add a touch of depth. I'm not someone that adds a lot of that to my eye looks. If I do any eyeshadow, I much prefer really soft or subtle eye makeup if I am going to wear it. I think this is one of those shades that's like a cream to powder. Those are not always my favorite because I feel like a lot of times they want to stick. If you can kind of see how it's wanting to stick in a certain place on my lid. These are not always my favorite in her palettes. I personally would just much rather have a plain matte eyeshadow, just regular powder, instead of the cream to powder, but that's just a personal preference. So this shade's not going to be too perfect because it is wanting to stick. So maybe once I put the shimmer shades down, that will kind of help that a little bit. I'm not going to fuss with it too much. I feel like the more you fuss with it, the worse it's going to look, at least with my experience with these shades. But I do love the tones in this palette. It's very, very pretty. I think that's another reason why I've kind of talked myself out of her tan palette, because of these types of shades. I don't really like these cream to matte or cream to powder, whatever you want. I guess it's cream to powder. I don't really care much for these types of shades. I wish she would just do a very basic eyeshadow palette. Okay, I know she does neutrals. When I say basic, I mean like just a normal, simple formula, not like the cream to this, just a very simple matte eyeshadow, kind of like what Tarte does. They're like the biggest example I can give because I just feel like their eyeshadows are just simple. They're easy to work with, they blend out, and I wish her palettes were like that. I mean, now if you love these shades, I love that for you. I'm so glad they work for you. But I just kind of wish at least once she would do much more of a plain palette, in plain as in formula, not plain as in neutral, because I know most of her palettes are neutral, which I'm not mad about that. I love neutral eyeshadow. But I just would love to see her do just a regular matte eyeshadow palette with the shimmers. Also, like Makeup by Mario, his palettes, or the Six Pan from Patrick Ta I love so much, or the Quad from Hourglass, like those more regular matte shades. I'm much more into those if I'm going to wear eyeshadow at all. I just feel like they're just super easy to work with. It's not that hers isn't, it's just more of a, it's more of a preference thing. Okay, and then I'm going to go over to the I Need a Warm palette, and I'm going to take the shade Snug on my finger, and we're going to place that in the very center of that lid. And then when I let the random generator pick out the shades for look number 2, I'm going to make sure it doesn't pick any of these 6. I want a fresh new batch. I did that to be fair because I know myself, I would only pick certain shades. So I like to let a random generator pick out my shades, even though I'm not intending for this to be a palette bingo of any sorts. It's just that way I know that it will pick shades that I would pick from palettes. See, like I normally don't pick the darker shades or anything like that. Sometimes I do for liner, but I'm not going to immediately go for those. So I figured letting a random generator pick would make it a lot more fair. From the same I Need a Warm palette, I'm going to take the shade Fancy, also on my finger. These are some really pretty eyeshadows. These shimmer shades are beautiful. I've even thought a few times about just popping out, because I don't have any magnetic palettes. I did think a few times about just popping out the shimmer shades in her palettes and letting go of all of these matte or the cream to powder, all that kind of stuff, and letting all of those go and just keep the shimmers. Except for the I Need a Nude. Now that palette, I want that palette the way it is. I would never separate that palette out. Of course, to me and my preferences, that's her best palette. I know not everybody likes that one and I understand that, but for me, that is the best palette she has, and I don't think she would ever top it for me. I just love those shades in that, and it's one that I'm trying to hit pan on every single shade. I've gotten 3 so far, and I'm working on a 4th one right now that is still going. But I did think about that with her other palettes. I did think about just kind of separating some of them out. Like palettes like this or the golden, those like that. Her pastel palette, I probably would leave that one the same too. And the only reason I even bring this up is because I'm so into the eyeshadow sticks, I like to use them on their own, but then I like to use them as base for shimmer shades from other, like from actual palettes or topper shades or anything like that. So I thought that might be a better option for me. But I mean, I don't know. If I do another eyeshadow palette declutter, it probably would be at the end of the year. I don't know yet how I feel. Things can change. It's just right now, it's not really what I'm looking for, like doing entire eyeshadow looks, even though I love them. I love to see them, but it's just not like a focus. So on a ColourPop E6, which is just an angle brush, I am going to go into the shade Flashover, and we're going to use this as some liner. This is another one of those, I think, cream to powder, but for liner it works out really, really beautifully. Okay, I went back into Flashover, and I'm going to keep that on the outer half of my lower lash line, just to kind of meet up a little bit with the same shade on the upper lash line. And then take that Sigma E54 and just lightly go over that. Okay, and then I really wiped off that E6 brush, and I'm going to go back into the golden palette and pick up the shade Kava. And I'm going to apply that on the lower lash line, like right here, and also into that inner corner a little bit. Okay, so here is this look before I go in with mascara and everything. I think it's really, really pretty, and it's simple. Very simple, warm tone eye look. So I'm going to do the rest of my face, and I'll be right back to show you the finished look. Okay, so here is this completed makeup look. This is kind of what I think of when I think of summer, like these pretty gold, bronzy, brown kind of shades. Now for my bronzer, I'm wearing the Sarah Krill Just Like Paradise Cream Bronzer, and this one is in the shade 1. And for the blush, I'm wearing the Summer Fridays Blush Butter Balm, and this one is in Toasted Terracotta, which is the perfect sun-kissed blush shade. And for the lips, I'm wearing the Summer Fridays Soft Line Lip Liner in Toffee, and that's all I'm wearing. I'm not wearing anything over the top because that is a perfect shade in my opinion. So that is the first look here, so on to look number 2. Okay, so we're on to look number 2, and these are the 6 shades. If it'll focus for me. Hoping it's in focus. These are the 6 shades that it picked out for me this time. Honestly, this looks like a very fall color story because this shade shifts to like a green, if you can kind of see it right there. So these 3 right here are from the Golden palette. We have Teak, Nubia, and Aurum. And these 3 are from the I Need a Warm. We have Phenomena, Homey, and Fervor. Okay, we're going to start with the I Need a Warm palette, and on a Sigma E54, I'm first going to go into the shade Fervor, and I'm going to place that all over the lid. This shade is pretty pigmented. I didn't pick up too much, but you can see how much pigment it does have. I'm just following the same steps that I did in look 1. You know, my shirt is like a cooler tone brown shade, even though I don't know what color it looks like on camera, but this looks very warm. I might should have went with more of a warmer brown shirt. And then whatever is left, I'm just going to take up a little bit into the crease. I don't usually worry about eyeshadow up in here that much because once I actually put my bronzer on, when I get to that step, I do bring my bronzer over my brow and in this area. So I feel like the bronzer makes like the best transition for me. You really don't have to worry about making this shade too perfect because I'm about to go over it with the shimmer shades and all that, but I did want to place the shade down first just to kind of give me a nice base. And then, as always, I go back into an EF1L from Makeup by Mario. This is from his travel brush kit, and I just like to go around that. Alright, we're going to stick with that same palette. Now, I'm going to try to pick up the shade Phenomena with a brush first. This is that shade in the palette that's kind of, well, it does shift to like a green. You could tell a little bit more in a swatch. I mean, for those of you who are like really into indie brands, I know that's not going to be much, but for a mainstream brand, it's nice to see shades like this done every now and then. I don't know if it'll pick up properly with a brush, but I'm just trying it to see if I can get it in like a precise location. I'm going to try to place it on the outer half of my lid. If I can at least get the placement down, I can go back over it with my finger, like applying it that way, but I was going to try to do this. Yeah, this shade reminds me of fall because of that, how it shifts to a green. It definitely reminds me of fall, but the random generator picked it and I wasn't going to change anything up. Okay, so now that I kind of have a placement, I'm going to go back over it with my finger. You can see just how much more pronounced that makes it, but the brush just helps me be a little bit more precise. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, I'm going to switch over to using my finger just to, make that more pigmented. This is a very pretty shade. If you like those shades that kind of shift from like, it's almost like a coppery color to a green, it is a pretty shade. I don't know how summery it is because it does remind me more of fall. It's a beautiful shade, but that, I feel like that is, the one shade in this palette that reminds me more of fall time than it does summer. I am so excited that, I mean, even though this is supposed to be more of a summer vibe, I am so excited to start seeing the Halloween stuff out. I know I've seen some people say online that stores around them have already gotten some stuff in. I haven't actually been anywhere since I did that mini shopping vlog with you here, so I don't know if any of the stores around me have put anything out yet, but if they have, I can't wait to go see. Okay, so we're just going to keep the same palette, and let's see, do I want, well, actually, or should I switch over to the gold? Let me open up the gold and look here at what I have with these shimmer shades. Okay, no, so we're going to go over to the gold eyeshadow palette now, and I'm going to take the shade Aurum on my finger. This one is like a metallic, so it probably would be really pretty in the center here. Yeah. Kind of meeting up with that shade that shifts to like a green. I thought this shade would be really pretty. If you love metallic shades, that one is perfect. It actually might be a little too overpowering for this Phenomena shade simply because that one has like no, I don't believe that one has shimmer. Well, no, it does have shimmer in it, but it's not metallic, I should say. You know, I don't know if I mentioned it in the first look or not, but there is a shade in the Ilia eyeshadow sticks that's like a gold. I think it's called Jubilee, maybe? I might have the name wrong, but it's a gold eyeshadow stick. Oh my gosh, that eyeshadow stick and then this over the top, that would be stunning. And then I just keep going back in with that Sigma brush and also the Mario brush just to keep going around here. Okay, let's go back into the I Need a Warm palette, and I'm going to take the shade Homey on my finger. If I'm remembering this shade correctly, I remember saying one time that this was like the most beautiful shade in this palette, but let me see. I didn't pick up too much of it. Apply it right there on the inner part. Let me pick up a little bit more. Oh, that shade's pretty. I'd like to apply that one over the top of one of my Ilia eyeshadow sticks. I bet that would be so pretty. That shade is pretty. It's got like some pretty sparkles in it. It's more pigmented than like a topper, I feel like, but it does have those pretty sparkles. I mean, I will say that probably the majority of the eye looks you do, if you do your makeup similar to me, or your eyeshadow I should say, probably most of the looks are going to look fairly similar. Now if you're someone that goes a lot more smokier, then yeah, your looks will probably end up looking a lot different. But if you wear eyeshadow at a more of a minimal kind of you know? I mean, you know what I mean. Not so much depth, then yeah, most of them are going to look the same. But now, it doesn't really bother me because these are the types of eye looks that I really love. Okay, so that's all 3 shades in that palette. So I'm going to go back over to the golden palette, and I have 2 more shades here. Okay, I don't know if this shade will be deep enough for a liner, but I'm going to try it. So I'm going to take a ColourPop E6, and we're going into the shade, oop, if I can get it up here, Teak. Now, it looks darker in the pan than it does on camera, but if it doesn't really show up, I might just add in another shade from this palette to place a little bit of liner down because I do want something. So if it doesn't really show up much, because it might be a little too light for a liner, then I will pick another shade, actually from this palette, because there is a darker shade. But no, I think it's showing up decently. It's soft, but it is there. I can see it, so I'll leave it. Okay, in the same brush, I'm going to go into Nubia, which is our final shade. And this shade I'm going to apply right here on the beginning half of my lower lash line, and then some also in that inner corner. And then I'm going to go back into that Teak shade, and we're going to apply that on the outer half here. Okay, so here's this eye look before I put on like the rest of my face. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back to show you the finished look. Okay, so here is this completed makeup look. So just right quick, what I'm wearing on the rest of my face, all I'm wearing is bronzer, like in here and just in this entire area, and that is the Refi Cream Bronzer, and this one is in the shade Dune, one of my top favorite balmy bronzers. It's so beautiful on the skin, and this tone looks like the most beautiful bronzer when you apply it in here. And for the lips, I'm wearing the Violette FR Bisou Balm, and this one is in the shade Mon Chéri. So if you like those soft, matte, balmy lip products, this one is really, really beautiful. And I thought it was perfect with this very warm, golden, brown, bronzy eye, and of course the bronzer all over the face. That's the only 2 looks I'm going to create with these. I think these are absolutely beautiful palettes. I'm assuming they're both still available. I don't know. I know sometimes Natasha Denona takes her palettes away and then or brings them back, but I feel like these 2 are probably staples in her line. So the 2 of them may still be available if you were interested in purchasing them, but if not, I'm sure you have some pretty warm tone neutrals in your collection if you're someone that you like neutral tones. But I do like both of the looks. Yes, they do look probably pretty similar to each other, but with the way I do my eyeshadow, usually on the more subtle side, I figure most of my eye looks are going to look very similar. But I do think both of these palettes are beautiful, perfect for the summertime, and I'm so glad that I got a chance to combine them again. But I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you are alerted to all my future uploads, and follow me on Instagram at jessicadeerly. All of these products will be listed and linked for you below, as well as in the YouTube shopping tag feature, and if you click through and purchase, I do earn a small commission. And if you choose to do so, thank you so much for supporting me and my channel, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!